Hey, welcome to About That Life podcast. I'm Coach C.Collins.
Coach MJ, GGT.
And we are here to talk basketball life and everything in between. So, we've been gone for a while, and, you know, it's just because me and Mark been a little busy and dealing with life and everything else, but we are back, and we're hoping to give you guys some good episodes for the month of November.
A lot to catch up with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of catch up to do. You know, obviously, past couple months, a lot has happened, a lot has shifted, and, you know, we're definitely going to try to talk briefly about as much as possible, right? And but I know I'm glad to be back. I know Mark's glad to be back. Ty, my man behind the camera, I know we're glad to just be doing what we love, talking about basketball and everything like that. Before we get into everything, again, just want to say, you know, so you can follow us on our Instagram, About That Life Podcast. You can follow my personal Instagram account, HoopstarIM. You can follow GGT, God Given Talent, and his personal account, right? Isn't it?
GGT Basketball,
yeah,
at GGT Basketball.
And, of course, my man Ty, he has his own personal IG account. All these links will be in the YouTube video and on the bio for the podcast venues like Spotify, iTunes, things like that. So please feel free to follow us, support us. We appreciate it. I know I've been getting some good feedback. I believe Mark's been getting some good feedback. People were actually hitting us up like, where you guys been? Like, or did you guys quit? Like, I'm like, nah, we haven't quit. Like, we want to keep this thing going. So remember, you know, one small click for you is a big help to us. So moving into the show, our guest for this episode is Coach Nate Stevens. He is, and I'll get into who he is as a person, but in terms of how I know him, we met it through YBA, right? He's been a coach here. He's been a coach, period, for a long time, and has helped at many levels, from the collegiate level all the way down to, let's say, you know, the grassroots level with the little kids, right? So he's very similar to myself in terms of how we see the game and how we approach coaching and kind of the expectations. So I'm actually really excited to have him here, because it's kind of good to have someone who sees the basketball world very similarly. Let me get into who he is real quick. Bear with me, y'all. Gotta grab this. Okay. So with Coach Stevens, he's a native of Sacramento and the Placer area. Began his coaching career as head coach at Global Youth Charter High School, Division VI. 2 years as boys basketball coach, right? Yeah. Okay. Led the Global Youth Charter High School Bulldogs to the SAC Metropolitan Adult League title. Wow. Okay. With the
athletic league.
Well, yeah. With the final record of 22-2 for that year. So great record. 2009, he was named Coach of the Year in SAC Metro Athletic League. Coach Stevens then moved on to YBA, right? And that's when he's been in YBA. He's been with us. Well, he's mainly coached. You mainly coach like the top varsity teams, right? Just so
I did it for 7 years.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, because did you do any of the youngers?
Yeah,
before?
I did during that time.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I know when I came, you were still doing the top level teams and stuff, and those were always fun to watch. I also served as the assistant men's basketball coach at Yuba College for 9 years.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then from there, he was a varsity coach at Lyndhurst from 2014 to 2017. Led Lyndhurst to the playoffs in his final year, ending a 7-year playoff drought, which is pretty huge. Nice. And he was honored as winning Coach of the Year that year. For this last year, or I should say, well, not the beginning of this, the 2019-2020 season.
Right.
COVID's
thrown off.
Yes, I know. COVID's, it's throwing a few things off for me, too. He was the head coach at Kennedy High School, which me and him have had some good conversations about. I actually was fortunate to coach one of a couple of his players. Why am I not thinking that boy's name? Jaden. Yeah, there we go. Jaden was.
Jaden.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris, who was an interesting character, as we know, but still, he was a good kid, you know. Yeah. So I got a chance to coach him, and then Malik and some of those other kids. So, no, I know exactly what that's like. But without further ado, let me introduce Coach Nate Stevens. Thank you for being on the show, Nate. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
So let's get right into it. So my first question for you, tell me about your start in coaching and the journey. You've clearly have a lot of experience. You've seen a lot. You've coached a lot around a lot of different atmospheres, because you know as well as I do, coaching in Rockland for YBA and then going to a place like Kennedy or something like that's two totally different worlds sometimes. So,
well, I played at Rockland, so I mean,
okay.
it's been a transition too.
Yeah,
but I'll say I probably fell into coaching more than I thought I would have, just because once you get past the part where you can't play, play. There's to get your competitive spirit out. That was like the only way I could do it, and I was really young when I fell into it.
Right.
And
how old were you?
I was 24.
Oh, wow.
24.
Wow.
And I started by doing an 8th grade team. They kind of just they were, not to be honest with you, they were desperate. They were totally desperate. They needed a coach, and I said, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
I'll take the extra money and do it. And I kind of fell in love with the competitive part of it first. You know, not necessarily the control, but the competitive. Like, that was the closest thing I could do to still be on the floor and play. And then I did that for a season, and then I decided I think I want to try and give the coaching a try. And I had a buddy that started he was kind of the start of an athletic group at a small charter school, this Global Youth Charter. And it's actually in the parking lot just behind Center High School in Antelope.
Nice.
And my first go at it was, I mean, I can't, to be totally honest with you, I was very lucky. I mean, I got a group of guys that were better than the division that they played.
Okay.
I mean, we trained.
Right.
I did it pretty much by myself, but to this day, of all the coaching I've ever done and the players, that group, because I got them for 2 years, was the most special group where they kind of incited a burning passion for me for coaching, because they literally would have ran through a brick wall for me. And I still, the crazy thing is some of them with Daryl and Derek Osborne and Roger and Prentice. Right. Those guys, I still have relationships. I coach now. That was started 2007, so
wow.
Today's 20, so that's 13 years ago. Those guys I still have relationships with,
And I believe that's always the biggest part of what we do. You know what I mean? Mark, me and him talk about it a lot too. The relationships you build with the kids.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's you get to legitimately watch young men and women grow up,
right,
and become adults, and you hope that, you had some sort of positive influence on their life, and you watch them, live there. So that's always a great part.
More than basketball.
Exactly.
More than basketball.
So from Global Youth, just kind of giving you the warp speed.
Yeah.
I knew a guy named Tom Tran. I've known him for many, many years.
Shout out to Tom Tran. He's the director of NorCal Dynasty.
Yep.
Good dude.
Great dude. And I had Daryl, who played for me, and he was by far the most talented player we had, and he needed something else than I was providing in the off season that I wasn't able to provide. And Tom said, our team with YBA is full, but let me introduce you to Ken, because I think we have an opening on a JV team for him. And at this point, he's a 9th grader.
Yeah.
And so he introduced me to Ken, and I actually knew Ken from when I was a kid playing at a park. Ken would be in his UPS uniform to drive up there.
Wow.
He had a big nose friend who would just make him set screens so Ken could shoot every time.
That sounds about right.
I actually started as an assistant coach in YBA on a JV team that there's a coach I'm not a giant fan of that's still with YBA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, so Daryl only played a short time on that JV team, and then that summer, he played when they went to Vegas. He played on the top varsity team.
Nice.
And that fall, Ken did make a move and let the varsity coach go, and said, "Man, I love the kind of how you deal with the kids. I think you'd be perfect to run our varsity program." And I got the job. It was probably a little controversial at the time.
Yeah.
And then that same year, as I started coaching, I got approached from Yuba College, and that's where, honestly, most of my experiences my greatest experiences at the time was coming from Yuba College.
Okay.
Because I got to coach with, in my opinion, two guys that are just phenomenal. Doug Cornelius has been at Yuba for since
he's been there
2003.
Yeah, Coach Corn's been there a long
Yep.
time.
And
I want to say, I want to say him, Georgie, and Jones have probably been like, Jones. Well, for our viewers out there, who probably have no clue what we're talking about. But at Sacramento City JC, there's Andrew Jones. I believe he's still the head coach.
He is.
And then at American River College, Mark Georgie, who is
Still there.
It's still there, and technically my boss, but he's still there. And then Coach Corn at Yuba. I feel like they're the longest coaches.
Coach Corn was actually Georgie's assistant.
Really?
Yeah, that's how long Georgie's been there.
Wow.
For 1 year. So, and then with Coach Corn is a guy named Ken Griffin, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. He coached at Marysville High School before Yuba. He's probably got high school wins. He's probably had 600 high school wins.
Wow.
And he's in his 70s now, and in my time with him, I've learned so much on how to deal with youth, and he's a real curmudgeon when it comes to basketball. He'll tell you exactly how it goes. So, my time at Yuba was probably the most developmental part of coaching. And then from there, it kind of branched out. I've done the younger groups of, AAU. And then I got presented with the opportunity to go to Lyndhurst. And that was like Captain Bad basketball.
Right.
We only had 4 guys that could actually play. And then I had to figure out pieces, where pieces go and how do we do it. And honestly, that was the greatest coaching I ever did. I mean, it was by far the greatest coaching. I mean, it's easy to coach if you have really talented players. Then it's just about getting them to, buy in or do something or respect you, and you can give them little tips. But the hardest coaching I ever did was when you just don't have an overwhelmingly deep or talented team.
Yeah, you got to work what you got.
You got to coach your ass off.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just how it is. And that was probably the best coaching I ever did.
Nice.
Okay, and then now currently, you're at Oakmont. I know I didn't say that part, so just for people to know, currently he is the varsity head coach at Oakmont High School, right? And I used to coach there. I was the freshman coach there for 2 years before I was at Whitney now, so that was the previous place I was at. So,
where's Oakmont at?
What district is it?
Roseville,
right?
Yeah,
okay. Roseville. Yeah. So, no, well, congratulations for that too.
Thanks.
Right, because this is your first year with that, and you're going to be maneuvering this COVID thing, which we're going to get into way more. So what people really don't know, just giving context for the people listening and the people watching, for YBA, we have a couple, let's do the brief history. YBA has been around, I want to say 16, 17 years, right? Somewhere around there. We also have been fortunate enough to have obviously a lot of college athletes go through the program, a lot of pro athletes, and we're talking pro at different levels. Well, he coached probably by far one of our best, if not the best, kids to come out of our program, which is Cristiano Felicio, who currently plays for the Bulls. Well, sitting with the Bulls record right now, I don't know how good that is, but still, no, and I'm cool. I'm really cool with Cristiano. He's a good kid, good dude. But this was his coach, and he went through that journey with him. What was that like? I mean, having a pretty much a legit kid, because I remember I watched an old YBA video of you saying legitimately, like, he's going to go to the NBA. You said that. You saw that before it even manifested. So what was that like? What was being around him?
Not to challenge you, but I will say this. He was the most dominant player I've ever coached. Wasn't the best with YBA.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't want to leave anyone out.
Yeah.
I mean, Daryl, Aaron Hendricks, Vasily Saraba, just to name a few, were incredible players. Mm-hmm. The thing Cristiano had was, he was 6'9", almost 6'10". He dribbled like a guard.
Yeah.
He played hard. He was also on that team, he was the hardest practice player as far as like, he demanded people to practice hard, and he showed up, and he never questioned his work ethic.
Okay. Hear that, kids? Hear that? That's what it is. You got to be different.
He would he's at the time his English wasn't incredibly great, and he was a little sensitive about it. But he would get on guys when they didn't practice hard. Nice. When your best player,
that's
when
what
your best player is your best practice guy and you're most accountable.
Yeah.
You got something special.
Yeah.
So we kind of had this short window because he was getting ready to sign at Oregon, and we had the short window because Oregon was going to probably say, no more basketball. He can play no more AAU, right?
Right.
And so we were trying to get in as many. He wanted it too.
Yeah.
To get in as many games as we possibly could. And I had a really good team. So I mean, some weekends we would play 2 and 3 tournaments. So I'll give you an example. Wow. We played 2 Bay Area tournaments and a Sacramento tournament, and we would try and counterbalance it.
Yeah.
So we could play in a weekend. We could play somewhere around, if you're talking 3-4 game tournaments, you might play 12 games in a weekend.
Wow.
So I want to say with Cristiano, we ended up probably playing somewhere around 50 games in that short amount of time, maybe 60.
Nice.
We never lost.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
as I was going to say, I don't think y'all lost too many, right?
And we have, so many memorable.
Splash Cristiano.
We have so many memorable stories with Cristiano. One of the ones that just ring in my mind, I've told it over and over.
Yeah.
We were in the Bay Area. The tournament director is called and said, "This guy, you got him playing in a high school tournament. He was a real high school player."
Yeah.
I mean, and he's like, "This guy's like a pro. Well, you got him in our tournament." And we played the next game, and there was a play. We threw a horrendous pass off the backboard to Cristiano. He's trailing the play. He catches it 2-hand, windmills it, sits on 2 guys, dunks it.
God.
And this is the best part of the story. The guy working the door, taking the money for the tournament?
Yeah.
He covers his face, he runs out, he leaves the money completely unattended. He doesn't come back for like 5 minutes. And I kept going, he's gone. His money is over there.
He really left the gym.
And then one of our other players on the team, his dad, no one was filming, but they saw the opposing team was filming, and his dad walked over and said, "Hey, I'll give you $100 for the film of that dunk."
Yeah.
Wow.
And the family was so insulted. They're like, "No.
Oh wow.
You got a pro guy playing." You know how they sometimes people do.
Of course. Nah, that's well. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, how old was he during this whole time that you had him? Like
he was probably realistically he was probably a little bit older senior, so he's 18. He was an adult, but he was just overly developed compared to every other high school kid, and he was giant. So when we would go into these, showcase tournaments, I mean, every college coach would be like, "Oh my," everyone's looking. And then when we play here locally at Hardwood, I mean, if you remember, the crowds would just literally surround the court, and they were, they'd be so pissed off if he didn't dunk it. They thought every play should be a dunk.
How was it? I mean, I like I said, I know overall he's a good dude.
Great dude.
How was it managing? I'm kind of curious. How was it managing his ego, personality, and quite honestly, even the teammates? Because in those type of situations, at least from what I've seen, one of two things could happen: jealousy, right? Or acceptance, you know what I mean? And I don't mean acceptance in a bad way. I mean acceptance of people understand, like, okay, this is our star guy. Yeah. I'm going to play my role and do great at my role, and we're just going to be a phenomenal team. Or you deal with, obviously, the jealousy side where guys is like, well, fuck that. It ain't all about him. I'm going to get mine. And then, you're dealing with those type of personality issues. Did you have any of those things come up?
It was actually the opposite.
Okay.
And why I say that is... again, when your best player is your hardest worker, that was number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, I think the rest of the guys on the team took it as an opportunity. Like, hey, I'm playing with a special guy.
Yeah.
I'm playing with a guy that the second he walks into a gym, everyone's looking at him. The second we play, every college coach is watching the game, and not every college coach is going to be able to get him.
Right.
But they may be able to get 6'8" Hayden Cook from Rockland High School.
There you go.
Because they see him play really well. Hayden was one of his teammates. So I think that, and plus Cristiano, he's not an egotistical guy.
No, he's not at all.
He's not cocky.
At all.
In fact, he's kind of like, you got to encourage him at that time. You had to encourage him to take over, kind of thing. But, honestly, I say this over and over about Cristiano. One of the really cool things is Mark Spears from ESPN 2 years ago did a sweet article on Cristiano, and he called. Mark Spears reached out to me and called me for the interview.
That's it.
And the thing I'll tell you that I told him, and I will say over and over, Cristiano's a great player. He's playing in the NBA. I mean, this is year 5 or 6 for him. he is a better person than he is a basketball player, and that is by far that's not. I would put that on a stack of Bibles.
Right.
Wow.
Well, that's nice. And I hope.
From a development standpoint, of course, we physically, everybody can't have his size, his athleticism, but for somebody like you who's been there since day one and seeing the process, and like you said, he's been in the league for 5 years. Where some people, something like that. I think I've seen the thing like most people get to the league, it's like 2 to 3 years and they're out. For somebody like that, like in your opinion as a coach, what I'm saying, and seeing somebody go through that process. Besides the physical, what I'm saying, because everybody can't get that. And I know I'm hearing that he's a good person. He pushes teammates also, in practice. What is it for somebody, to get to that next level, seeing it from him? What set him apart? What set him apart for him to still be where he's at right now?
I think I can answer that easily with him. Okay, not everyone can be athletic, but with him in particular, you don't ever have to question the person he is or his work ethic. He is the type of guy, I'm sure he did with me, and what he does with coaches on the Bulls. Yes, coach. Yes, sir. You ask him to do it, he never second guesses you. He just did it. My relationship with him now has moved, is moved past coaching, and it's more, like when we talk, we end it with, "Hey man, miss you, love you," that kind of stuff. It's kind of changed. When he played for me, he was, there was an abusive situation he came from, and I don't want, but he truly is. What you see is what you get plus some, and it's not the basketball playing. I mean, like, I guarantee if he didn't play any, and he doesn't play a lot of minutes for the Bulls. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't play a lot of minutes.
More like a utility big, like
absolutely. And I guarantee you, I guarantee if you ask his coaches, that guy's the hardest worker in practice, and he doesn't play. And he's the best teammate. Watch him on the Bulls. Like when a teammate does something, he's the first guy up clapping. I mean, that is just
special.
Those are like all the things when you coach a really talented player, all the things you beg them to do, but they somehow never do it.
Right.
He did it.
Nice.
I didn't have to beg for it, and that's what it was kind of like, when it came together perfectly.
Well, like you said,
it's that 1%.
Yeah, that's his personality. So, let's switch gears to high school, right?
Okay.
Let's put your high school varsity Oakmont coach hat on. How do you feel about this upcoming season? I'm the JV coach, so for me it's a little less stress, right? Okay. I just do what my boss tells me and coach my team and go home. You obviously have to manage the season. You have to manage all 3 levels. You have to. I mean, I'm sure. We're both in this boat. Are our parents going to be allowed? Are they not going to be allowed? Or
fundraising.
Fundraising. Exactly. Like it's strange, man. And then even if we wanted to even do a little bit of lightweight travel or play Sacramento teams, well, our area, Placer, Roseville, all that stuff is kind of in a different phase than Sacramento. So it's like, I think in South Sac, they're still kind of in phase 2. They can't really do as much. So how are you dealing or maneuvering this, or what are your thoughts?
Not to sound corny, but just flexible. I mean, every time it's been something different. We do this, it goes closed down. We can't do this, can't do that. You just have to be flexible. And I want to do things the right way right now because, particularly with Oakmont, I mean, they have seniors that they have to have a season. I mean, that's just terrible. What happened to some of those senior baseball players last year where they only got to play 1 or 2 games and then this happened?
Yeah.
So we just have to do it the right way. I think it's going to be constantly, in my opinion, I think it's going to be constantly changing.
Okay.
And as coaches, we're just going to have to be really flexible. When you really think about it, I've already changed my schedule. I mean, it's done again. Yeah. But this is the second time full schedule change because we didn't know when we're starting regular, starting not. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. The guys deserve a full season.
Right.
They deserve a full season.
No, that's good for you. You said it. I mean, so what are your thoughts about and this is kind of because you understand this world like myself because you've been an AAU coach and a high school coach. I think very few people have that understanding like me and you because you're not the feeder program AAU coach, right? No, nothing wrong with the feeder program stuff. I get the logistics of it. I do. But we've been more on that, like, trying to get kids looked at by college AAU type stuff. You know, we're trying to put guys on the national stage.
What does that mean when you say feeder? Like,
okay, so yeah, I keep forgetting you're the trainer hat.
Yeah,
so
yeah. When you guys talk about the coaching,
yeah, you're right.
I'm
No, that's good because you're basically saying what some people might be asking out there. So you do have certain programs that kind of feed into the schools. So AAU programs, which is kind of like just the starter programs to try to introduce these kids. At the end of the day, let's call it competitive rec. It's competitive rec. It's not true AAU high level, but you are trying to introduce competitive basketball to these kids. The reason we call it feeder is because they feed into the high schools. So it's kind of
some schools take it very serious.
Yes.
Where if you didn't play on their feeder team, your chances of playing high school basketball for that particular coach.
Wow.
True, but sometimes I feel like that's bullshit. Because come on, man, like if some random kid from LA comes out,
and he's playing.
Yeah, exactly. Like he comes out to tryouts and he's dunking on everybody. They're not gonna go.
He's starting.
Exactly. They're not gonna go. Oh no, you didn't play in our feeder program since fourth grade.
That would be an exception. You moved to the area.
Exactly. So like So Whitney has like a feeder program. It's called the Hustlin' Owls. Rockland High has a feeder program called Rocktown Ballers. So these are specific AAUs that typically have kids in their zip code areas, and they introduce kind of the philosophies of those high schools at the youngest levels. And then you kind of, again, it's kind of
it's relationship building.
Relationship building. It's kind of like a D-League process, right? You're trying to transition these kids from the D-League into the NBA, right? So it's some are really good. Some, I think they serve a really good purpose. They give kids who might not make it on, like, because like, let's be real, like some kids can't play for YBA because they're just simply not talented enough. You know what I mean? But this gives them a good alternative to still potentially give them a high school basketball career, right? And there are some programs that do this simply just for money. You know what I mean? That's just being real with you.
It's a good fundraiser.
Yeah. And again, I won't call out the programs, in my opinion, that do that, but I'm just saying there are programs out there that do use it for the wrong purposes, and there are programs that do it, I think, for legit good purposes. So that's when we're describing like the fear, because of course, like Arsenal, Team Arsenal, or Arsenal's a true AAU. Oakland Soldiers, true AAU. Even us, YBA, that's true AAU. Like we are here to provide a platform to get colleges to look at our kids, right? Rocktown is not worried about that. You know what I mean? With Hustlin' Owls, not worried about that. They're feeding into their high school. They're just trying to develop the kids to a certain level that they can play at that high school level. So, that's kind of the cloth me and you come from. And so that's where I was leading to my question is like, with the AAU season possibly overlapping with our high school seasons, because, it's going to overlap with mine just like it's going to overlap with yours. What do we do? What do you think?
Normally, in a normal situation, your high school team should be your priority because that window is so small for you. And it's special. It really is.
Right. I agree.
High school basketball is special.
High school culture and all that, it does play a factor.
With the pandemic this year, it creates another challenge, and the challenge needs to be overcome by the coaches.
Okay.
Simple as that. Trust me, I've had a few conversations of how it might play out where, let's say a kid is borderline, could get a scholarship and he needs to go to an exposure tournament in order to get that, where if you're playing a league game against Rio Linda, maybe the college coach you're not going to get the same exposure as you're in an away tournament.
Right.
So my idea, my plan is I'm going to support the kid, believe it or not. I mean, I want to win. I want a successful program, but I'm going to support the kid. But with the idea, hey, if you choose that, if you think that's the best thing for you, then I've got to do what's best for the team. I'm going to allow it, but it comes with you missed a game. You're missing something on the back end.
Okay.
Then so that way, it just would hopefully be a very, very important decision that the kid's going to make and weighs all the options without me dangling a carrot over his head, kind of thing.
Right.
So it's creating a whole nother challenge,
and it's going to be tough because like for me, because my position, I have a really talented 16U group, that I want to give them the maximum exposure. I mean, Mark's filmed my team, and he's a fan, like, you know, and you've seen
killers.
those boys. You've seen those boys, and you know, it's going to be tough because it's like I was asked by, you know, Coach French for me. He's like, well, if you have a AAU live period event, are you going to miss a JV game to go to that live period? You know, for me as a coach, are you going to miss it? And I told him, I said, honestly, don't have an answer for you. We'll just have to deal with that bridge when we get to it.
You know, I didn't even think on the coaches' end of it.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like,
and I do know that I kind of got word that they're going to enforce a rule that if, like, say for you, because you're coaching AAU and high school, well, there's always been a rule that in high school you can't do anything on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So if you have a AAU tournament and a Whitney kid is playing for you on a Sunday, you're actually violating this rule. You know, at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the kid. I mean, I trust me, I understand, because there's other kids that aren't playing AU that they have to do what's best for their high school and their team.
Right.
But if you really have kids that exposure can make all the difference in the world for them, I don't know. It's just hard for me because I'm a pain in the ass coach. I know that from a basketball standpoint, but I have always been, ultimately, the end game is about the kid. I mean, what we're able to do for him.
No, you're right. And then that leads to my next question. You know, your son Daryl, right? I've been fortunate enough to be a part of his life and coach him, and some of your guys, like you said, who you have long relationships with, like Roger and Prentice, and you know, I coached them when they were young rec kids at some point. So that's kind of a unique tie me and you have had. You know, I've always admired and seen you've been real good about the mentorship piece of basketball, right? You know what I mean? I think similar to myself, because I think that's a huge piece that sometimes gets lost in translation out there, because people see from coaches and trainers too, I think they just see the drills and the wins and the losses, and they think that's all we care about. What I've had to learn is, right, they only see 5 to 10% of what we do. You know what I mean? Even if we put it on social media, even if they go to games, they only see a very, very small percentage. So that mentorship, that relationship piece for you personally, I mean, how important is that to you, and how has that shaped you? You know what I mean? How's it helped impact you in your life?
First, with Daryl, he's had more of an impact in my life than I probably have had in his, to be honest with you, when I step back and look at the whole picture. But the only way I can answer that question is this game of basketball has given me some of my most important relationships that I have in my life that I value. And I value family, my immediate family, and I'm super close with. My parents adopted after me and my sister. They adopted 3 kids. My sister has 3 of her own kids and adopted 2. Wow. So it's kind of like that's been in kind of ingrained in me. But the mentorship, I mean, some of the things that you don't, when you're coaching in the moment and you're building these relationships, I didn't set out to do it. It just kind of
just happened.
It happens.
Yeah.
And one of the best kickbacks to this whole thing is, like, you know, a year ago, I'm one of my players is getting married, and I'm in his wedding. I mean, it's just like those are huge things that it's like, you know, they're monumental, and you know, not to swing at any kind of religious type deal, but I remember hearing one time someone say, you know, when God calls you and He says, "I gave you 100 people to influence," and I made 100 basketball players, and He says, "No, I gave you 100 boys to help become men," and I just kind of think that on that line. But most of the guys, to be honest with you, have probably impacted me more than I have them. Nice. But I get calls all the time. Coach, can you do this? Coach, can you do that?
Right, of course.
And I try never to say no. I mean, you can't. I never say no, so that's probably the way they do it. But there is a handful of guys that don't want to deal with me.
Of course, yeah. And that's.
But there's some that would just run through a brick wall.
Of course. No, that's great. No, I like that. And well, funny enough, you mentioned that. So some people love you as a coach, right? Some people hate you. And
that list seems to be getting longer.
Right. And that's very similar to me. So that's why I figured, hey, let's talk about it. Because, again, like I was saying in the beginning, me and you were kind of cut from the same cloth. And, you know, some people love me, some people hate me. I live with it. Either way, Mark knows I talk mess about it all the time. You just live with, you know, you just live with it. You are who you are, and you just deal with it, whether it be parents or players or whatever. But you as a varsity coach and the different experiences you've had, you know, even at the collegiate level, things like that, how have you dealt with those things? How have you dealt with those tough situations?
Well, I don't care. I mean, I know that sounds
No,
horrible, but it depends. I can't please every kid. I definitely don't set out to please every parent. I mean, that is something that is never going to happen ever, because, you know, you're dealing with their ultimate gift, their child. So you're just never going to be able to do it. No one cares more about their business than the owner of their business. It's the same thing with the kid. No one cares more about the kid than their one that brought them into the world. Right. With the kids, I always extend every opportunity for, you know, most kids, in my opinion, do want some sort of discipline and want to be coached It's the ones that don't. I think uncoachable kids become bad adults.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's just my opinion on it. And as I've gotten older, I kind of just, I don't care. I mean, really. I mean, I'll coach them. I try, and then if it doesn't seem to be working or registering, I say, see ya.
All right.
I mean, I've had a couple situations where I've probably crossed the line and definitely crossed the line.
Well, we're human,
and I feel bad,
yeah.
and I'll go and talk to the kid or whatnot. But most of the time, it's just, you know, it's just like anything. Some things just don't match well. They just don't. And I could exhaust myself trying to make it work, but then I'm affecting something else that is working, like a relationship with 8 other guys that is working. It just, you know,
makes sense.
Yeah.
So with you coaching multiple levels, like I said, with your experience at Yuba and high school and AU, just having all the different hats, what's kind of the common thread you see amongst all these levels and groups?
The common thread.
Like what works, let me elaborate a little bit. Like the common thread that works for you as a coach. Because I know for me, I like a particular type of athlete. And it doesn't mean their physical build, just in terms of kind of the psychology, the drive, I typically tend to get the underdog athletes, right? The athletes that people look at the beginning and they're kind of like, it's not that good. He sucks, right? And I like to develop them, put some hunger and drive in them, right? And then they become, you know, whatever level they become, and typically my kids become pretty freaking good. But I know those type of guys gravitate towards me, the hard workers, the ones that want to be coached and the ones that want to work hard. There's some, they can just manage real high level athletes and their personalities really well, and they can just deal with the psychological aspect of all that. I can't deal with all that. I can't deal with all the ego ball and, you know, everybody, there has to be like 10 basketballs out there because everybody wants 30 shots. I can't deal with that shit. That's just not me. So I'm just curious for you, for all the levels, what's kind of the common athletes you can gravitate with and vibe with? Well,
obviously college and AAU is different because you can handpick.
Right.
You can put your team together. Where high school, you really don't get that. Well, you have tryouts, but you don't get the same pool of options of what you're going to be able to do. The common ground to me in basketball, in my experience in coaching, is only on one end of the floor, and that is defense.
Nice. I like that.
That is number one, because I can't tell you how many even great shooting teams or, you know, great driving teams that I've had where all of a sudden, magically, that ball, for some reason, just doesn't go in the hoop one day.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I know that has always been consistent is what you do defensively. So if we can't get a group of guys to do it the same way, and initially, you know, as I've gotten older, it's a little different, but I'll be coaching. I'll sweat my ass off. I'm running up and down the sidelines. I'm 1 inch from being on the floor.
Right.
Most of the time, even the refs are like, "Coach, you got to get off the floor." You know? And I think those are the players that seem to fit in for me. And then the offense stuff it starts to take care of itself. You can develop that. That's the parts that you can develop. You can train it. You can teach them exactly how to screen. But it really starts with that intensity effort. No coach in America can coach effort.
Yeah.
You can't.
You're right.
But the defensive part, and everyone has different ideas to it, but ultimately it goes down to, are you going to sit down and defend or are you not going to?
Right. No,
That's probably the common thread between all the different levels that I've found for me that works.
nice. So then, what's the end game goals for you? I mean, 5 years from now, where would you like to be in this basketball world, or the end game for you for all this?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
And I mean that wholeheartedly. I'm moving towards, me leaving where I was at Kennedy, it was only, I loved Kennedy where I was, we were going in the right direction, young. This was merely a logistical switch, me going to Oakmont this year. Initially, now I'm there, I'm 100% in. We're going to try and hopefully challenge to win a league and do all that stuff.
Right.
I'm 8 minutes from where I live. I'm
Right.
10 minutes from where I work.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's like,
geographically makes sense.
I'm geographically in the right spot. But if there's an opportunity, I don't want to be the coach that every 18 months or 2 years has got a new job every time, kind of thing.
Right.
So right now I think I'm trying to prepare myself to put roots down in the basketball community and just kind of hang out.
All right.
And see what happens. Obviously, I'd like to be in a position to put Oakmont back, in the mid-'90s. It used to be a powerhouse.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of schools have opened up since
Yeah.
then and stuff. So I'd like to be in a position where we're winning and developing guys and getting guys graduated, and then they can come back and help coach and do that stuff. That would ultimately be
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds really good. So, switching gears, right? Let's talk about the NBA. Right,
Yeah.
Congratulations, Mark.
Yeah.
Your Lakers won, right?
17.
And Ty,
17.
I'm sorry, that's
17.
behind the camera. So yes, you guys got your win. So, is it a legit win?
I just
had to
wait a minute.
Is it legit?
You two have played basketball, right? Okay,
A little bit.
I feel like we shouldn't even have to talk about this no more. Then, if you're a competitor, you play who's in front of you.
Yep.
Or are you not? If you're LeBron James, what? No, I'm good. It's the bubble. Let's wait till the pandemic is over. What? We gonna go hoop?
Oh man.
Well,
Come on,
okay. Wasn't it like a giant AAU tournament? I mean, there was no fans. There was no home court advantage that occurred anymore. I mean, there was a lot of things that actually.
But I actually liked that there was no home court advantage. I kind of liked it. I am not.
It makes
gonna
it
lie.
better, honestly.
It made it neutral. I kind of like that atmosphere. But again, you can't negate the crowd too, because we've all played and been in front of crowds, and it's great. I mean, when you have that energy,
sure.
even when you're the bad guy, right? And you're the away team. So
But it
does
also
play.
does something with the refereeing. Believe it or
that
not.
too. No, yeah, you're
And
right.
see, that's a
True.
huge deal
Very
that I
right.
looked at. It was like, it seemed to me that the reffing, you don't have the 25,000 people booing you or whatever. That wasn't really there. Those video boards, I mean, the NBA did the best they could.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they won.
They won.
The Lakers won.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're the champions. You could. I was kind of mentioning, you can talk about, they played a banged up at the end Nuggets and Heat and all that stuff, but they won. And honestly, of any of the teams, in my opinion, that were in the playoff, in the bubble, the one that benefited the most from a 5-month break, was a LeBron James led Lakers team. I mean, it was clear. He played fantastic.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, looking at the runner-up, Miami, what do you think they should do moving forward? What do you guys think?
They need to add a superstar.
The Greek,
You just need
the Greek
room-
freak.
I think the Greek, that seems to be the. I mean, at first it was the Warriors, which I was like, I don't know if that's really going to happen. But now, I think I said that last episode though. But yeah, I think the Greek freak should go to Miami because that'll give them that extra piece. And they got a bunch of young guys who.
Yes. They just need to keep developing, and I mean they have a future, with Hero and Duncan Robinson, and you know what I'm saying. I mean Jimmy Butler's going to be there, but they have a future.
And then obviously the next biggest talk for the East is the Brooklyn Nets, right? Just hired a great coaching staff. What are their chances Now, maybe with a healthy KD. Did you see that picture with KD and his hair, bro?
Oh my God.
Hey, you gotta say.
I seen one with him, and then of course they put LeBron.
Oh,
They're comparing them. It's like, man, y'all have so much money. It's like either shave that shit off. You know what I'm saying? Or really find the best in the world.
So bad. I said, what is wrong with KD?
He let it grow it out too, and
why?
You see the patches.
Right. I'm like, KD, bro. Bro. I was like, just cut that off, please. Like, I don't respect KD's brush. I don't respect his pick. I don't respect nothing he got going on. Come on, bro. Like,
it's been like that for years.
He got all that money. All that money. Just come on, man. Just come on home. Just shave that off, call it a day. Get the clean cut look, call it a day, man. But yeah, that was a late day. You got to see this meme. It was freaking hilarious. It was bad. But no, what's Brooklyn's chances looking like? Because we were just talking about it earlier. So they hired D'Antoni, right?
As an assistant.
Right. Nash also wanted Dirk to come out, but Dirk was like, I'm good, bro.
So he settled for Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have Amari. He seems to be making the right moves right now. So, do we think Brooklyn's going to come out and be the favorite now?
L.A. and New York, that's going to be the finals for the next few years. So, I mean, that's what it's going to be looking like.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
No, that's what we're here. But
that's Boston knocking at the door. Having a problem with what you're saying.
Not yet. I said a few years.
The Sixers are knocking too.
Yeah, they might be. I
mean, if KD is who he is.
That's true.
Right?
If he's healthy, Kyrie's healthy.
Yeah.
You got a lot of other Karis LeVert. Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yep. Oh yeah, they're
DeAndre Jordan he's a little long in the tooth, but he's a serviceable big guy. They also have I'm drawing a blank. Jarrett, the other big guy, the backup big guy. Is
really with the fro.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I mean, they right now, even before signing anyone else, Joe Harris is a good shooter.
Yeah.
Even before signing anyone else, they have the pieces to do it. Now, obviously, if KD is healthy, I mean,
right.
If he's not the best player in the NBA, he's second best.
Because I mean, when he got the last championship with the Warriors, the talk was he's the best in the world.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or that was the argument, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
and of course he got injured. We're back to LeBron. Of course LeBron gets the title. So now it's like, okay, he's back healthy. Like,
exactly.
He has something to prove. Because in his mind, I've seen so many interviews, he truly believes, and from a skill standpoint, I do believe he is the best when it comes to skill. You know what I'm saying? Of course LeBron just does so much, but I think, man, it's gonna be scary. I think.
What was crazy? I mean, for the Lakers winning, LeBron and AD are just unbelievable duo, right?
Yeah.
Take the rest of the roster. Now, granted, there was some guys that were all-stars before.
Yeah, that's true.
That roster for him, those two literally carried them that roster into winning a championship because across the board, that is not a super strong roster, right?
No.
As it's constructed now. I mean, when Alex Caruso's playing 32 minutes, and I don't no slack on him, but I'm just telling you, it just isn't. It's not a strong roster for them to win a championship. They're gonna still have to make some moves. And isn't AD a free agent this year?
Yeah, but I'm sure he's gonna sign with the Lakers. I would be very, very surprised if he didn't go back. So then that leaves just the other kind of odd man out who we want to talk about is the Clippers, right? And what's their next step? Because there was obviously some drama even after all the things I heard. Like Pat Beverly and was it Montrezl Harrell were like we didn't like Paul George. They were the reports came out they did not fuck with PG at all.
Kawhi coming to practice late.
Yeah, like the superstars weren't taking it as serious. And again, it kind of circles back to what you were saying with Felicio. When your best player is even at the high school level is your hardest worker, it just transcends everybody else.
That's got to show you what turmoil that team was facing.
Yeah.
That Doc Rivers basically runs out of there and then immediately signs with the Sixers.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know there's something years ago where I guess Paul George was dating Doc Rivers' daughter and cheated on her.
I mean, and is now with the woman.
Now, isn't that going to be pretty hard to overcome as a parent? You got to just
that's
can't make your daughter happy and you defend her.
I mean, who knows, man? The Clippers are becoming more of a reality show than a basketball team at this point. So I mean, hopefully they figure it out.
I think the team in the West, honestly, and I think the team really would be the Warriors. And I know that sounds silly.
That's cliche, right? Because everyone's
but they just, I mean, they had suffered so many injuries, and I almost feel like they've been systematically resting guys now to make healthy to one more
Yeah,
push.
sure,
I mean, now they have the second pick in the draft. They're talking about maybe trading it. I mean, and they've got Andrew Wiggins, who's a tradable piece. So I think the Warriors maybe more
for sure.
than the Clippers
And you know,
could
that's
make
my
a
team.
push.
So of course I'm Warriors all day, and I don't care what anyone says. We still have two of the best shooters in the NBA. So you
History.
can't, exactly, you can't count them out. You can't just say, "Oh, Klay Thompson, Curry, who are they?" Like, we're still pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll definitely have to get, like you said, make some moves, and we have some tradable pieces and some marketable pieces. But
I feel like that's, Brooklyn took that blueprint kind of with the Warriors of getting how Steve Kerr is, that former player coach, to where now it's just, the personalities trying to deal with, because Steve Nash got Kyrie and KD.
Steve Nash was on part of the Warriors'
You're right.
development.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know
You're
what
right.
his role was, but he was definitely training and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
again, we'll see how this next year plays out, but it should be real interesting. Got a lot of good storylines.
Yeah,
Let's put it like that.
for
Got
sure.
a lot of good storylines.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Lakers, I'm calling it now.
Oh,
back to
geez.
back.
All right, fair enough. I can't argue with it right now. I got to see what my Warriors doing after they make some moves. So going back to AAU, Hardwood Palace is open up for business right now. You just played your games today with your Oakmont guys, and more places are opening up across the country. Noticing that I was just invited to Slam Academy, which is in Hayward. They have they're only their second AAU tournament. They invited my 16U team and a couple teams to go down there. So I might be in Hayward next weekend. I went to Phoenix with my 16U, and they did well. This was a West Coast Elite event. The 16U killed it. They got first, which was really great. Northern California teams did really well in that event. The top spots went to my team. As far as 16U, the top 16U spots went to my team. Who else? The Hoyas, Zach Hoyas, and Lake Show. So those were the top 3 16U teams just right there, which I thought was just really cool just because it was Northern California guys, and I know those kids, and, it's nice to see we went to a national tournament like that and really showed, like, hey, you need to start taking it. Our ball players, like, we're fucking legit, you know what I mean? So that was really cool to see, with the green light kind of becoming more and more prevalent for the high school levels, the AAU stuff, obviously, even with me and you kind of taking our high schools, like, for instance, I'm taking my Whitney JV guys, and we're playing in Hardwood this coming weekend. I know you've been doing stuff with your Oakmont guys, and
It's not the whole team. Is
not the whole team, but yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah, and same with me. Majority of my guys, it's not all Whitney guys, but the majority of the team is. How's that process been working out for you?
Playing right now during COVID,
just kind of playing and figuring it out.
In my opinion, just because I've coached so much AAU, it's been bizarre.
Okay.
And, I've kind of been trying to stick. I've been local. I haven't got to travel to tournaments, like you have. For them to check if you have a fever or not, and say you're good to go, and then people are in there, and then there's like very limited fans,
right?
So you have to kind of create your own energy with your team, and if you don't have like a really hyped up team anyway, it's very difficult. I mean, if your coach is your biggest cheerleader, you're screwed.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's a joke.
Yeah,
and so, but it is nice to be able to have the guys playing. I mean, you just think about the psyche of some of these kids. And I know they've been training but I mean, you're talking about this has been since March 16th. We've shut down. We only reopened for 2 weeks in California until we reopened again at the first part of October.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you're talking 7 months.
Yeah.
Of shut down, the kids having no life. I know as an adult I struggle with it.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So, but it is nice to be in the gym. I don't think that if one of the facilities that we're playing at, I'm not sure if it's properly, COVID handled correctly. I'm sure there's probably some better things you could do.
Right.
But I'm glad to be playing.
Okay.
I wish they would enforce more of whatever the COVID policy is. If you don't want them to shake hands, don't shake hands. If you want, because courtside they had the big hand sanitizers and stuff. And, maybe as soon as the game's over, people can't linger inside. They got to go
get them out.
I don't know. But, it has been nice to be able to play. And hardwood it's definitely a different environment than it used to be.
Yeah, it definitely. And I mean, West Coast Elite did really good when we went to Phoenix, just to give example. They really, their whole process to the COVID, they would, like, you couldn't go in to the facility. You had to kind of wait outside. And, of course, they tried to tell people wait separately, you know what I mean? Don't gather together. And then right when teams were done, they would boot them out, right? They would say, talk outside, go ahead, get outside. You go outside, you have your post-game huddle outside, and they would sanitize everything. The bleachers where the parents at, the benches where the kids at, the scores table. They would just, I snuck in because I was in the bathroom, and when they told everyone to get out, and I just happened to still be in there, but they were taking the machines with disinfectant and spraying everything and wiping everything, clean everything. Then the next group of teams will come in, but they left enough space to where you still had time to warm up. You still had time to, but I really like the facilities they chose in Phoenix, and I like the way West Coast Elite handled it overall. I think they did a really good job.
I don't want to be insensitive about COVID at all.
Yeah,
because it's real thing.
Yeah,
but it affects people differently.
Absolutely.
And when you remove the part of letting someone be an adult and letting someone be an adult and a parent to their child, and start enforcing things, in my opinion, let's be adults, be safe about it. If you have underlying health issues, or someone that has underlying health issues, you probably should, not be playing right now. Should be not doing that. If that's not a concern for you, then if you've decided that that's fine, then you be proactive, forward. Wash hands, try and cover your face, and we'll go about business.
I feel like there's always, and me and Mark have talked about this, I think, on numerous episodes, but I just feel like there's two extremes, and, extremes on either side is always wrong. There has to be a middle ground. You either the group that's like, shut everything down, isolate everybody, this isn't right, youth sports is killing people, blah, 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 blah. You have this extreme group. Then you have the other extreme group who's like, COVID's not real, it's a hoax, and it's full of shit. It comes from cell phone towers. I mean, fucking ridiculous thing. Like, that's too much. You said, just use some common sense. Wear a mask when asked. Wash your hands. Social distancing. I think if you take those, just the common practices, you'd be okay, right? So at least that's all I can say for myself. I can't speak for everybody out there, but that's what's worked for us so far, I think. So I don't know. What, you got any thoughts on that one, Mark?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, like I said, it's just, to me, I believe, either you're working, and because like I said before, I've always said this, you're gonna have the kids who are just gonna wait until everything goes back to normal. You know what I'm saying? And then you have the kids, so a lot of the kids I've been working with, like, we've been just grinding since the pandemic. So by the time high school season start, or when you're ready to go to college, you're going to be ahead of people. So my thing is, I'm just grind. And because, like I said, you don't know when things might just snap of a finger, we back to normal again.
Yeah. So you got to stay ready.
Yeah.
So one thing that's been kind of interesting to me, this is more talking on the training aspect of stuff now, kind of the training and kind of AAU side of it. I don't know if you've kind of noticed it just through social media and stuff, or maybe you haven't noticed it, but I've been seeing it more and more. There's a lot of trainers and coaches getting facilities now. Like it's just weird. I like the Sac Soldiers got a facility. The one in Rancho. There's a couple facilities there. The guy that does touch shooting, Ryan, he moved his facility there because I don't think it was there originally. Then the guy Dante, he does Miller Vision. He has a facility now there. It's Ball World or whatever it was. I played in a tournament there with BAS for Bay Area Sports. They're trying to move and use that facility. So I just thought that was pretty interesting.
It's it's because so many things were closed. So if you want to do something, maybe you fall on the more conservative side or the more open side of, hey, it's not near as big a deal.
Yeah.
And you got to get your own facility so you can do your own thing. I mean, really, it's like
it's just for basketball, I feel like our sport, it's just in this weird good and bad place at the same time, right? Because football is kind of shut down. baseball is still just kind of shut down. I mean, like basketball, we're kind of in this weird flux of depending where you're at. It's just like you go to Phoenix, it's just whatever. It's basketball's happening. You know, you go to Utah, basketball's happening. You know, in our area, basketball is happening, right? But then you go to like let's say Oakland, basketball shut down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just different.
Honestly, if you're talking just about high school and basketball, we have to have a high school football season for us to have a high school basketball season.
Yes, I agree.
If we don't end up having football, there will be
no
basketball.
And it's just I don't know, man. It's been pretty interesting to see. I mean, more power to the brothers out there getting their facilities and making things happen. You know, I'm fully supporting that. It's just I'm just noticing basketball has kind of become the forefront of youth sports right now. Maybe it's because my lens, because I'm in the basketball world, but I talk to other coaches for other sports like baseball, football, things like that, and they just tell me like we can't do anything. We're shut down. We can't do this. We can't do that. We're trying to take a trip to Texas so we can play in a football 7-on-7. I mean, it's like, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to courtside this weekend. Like, you know what I mean?
My old YBA assistant coach, his name's Derek Camus. His son is in the 8th grade, going to be going in the 9th grade. He's a really good soccer player. He's been practicing every day. He has not played a tournament.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
A tournament since like
and we have a soccer
January
facility
of
right down here, and I don't think they can host any tournaments yet.
It's outdoor.
Yeah,
I just that part is bizarre.
Right,
to me.
you know what I'm saying? Like that's why I just say basketball is kind of in this weird, unique spot. It can be good or bad depending on who you ask, but I don't know. And I'm noticing, you know, kids are traveling. I mean, and you have parents that are traveling from Reno and Humboldt, and I mean, they're
desperate.
Yeah, they're searching basketball out. I've heard of people willing to move to other states. Like I'm just saying, and like you know, you go to courtside. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, especially because you and Ty have been videotaping and seeing stuff. You got kids coming from the Bay like all the time, man, and from further, from teams from Vegas and all the above. So you know, it's been great for me.
I seen a team from Oregon, right? Or
yeah. Oregon brought a bunch of teams. Oregon prospects. You know, shout out to them. I mean, it's like it's good in terms of I would say like for me and you because we get to see different competition and see different levels. But I'm just like, man, imagine being those people in Portland or in the Bay where you got to spend all this money and do all this travel just to have a basic weekend. You know what I mean? Like for us, we're lucky enough. That's kind of like, you know, we can. I didn't coach at all this weekend, and that's like okay,
the first ever.
Yeah, but you know, it's like that's okay because I know I got next weekend and stuff like that. But some of these places, they don't have nothing, man. It's very tough, and my you know, for those who are figuring it out, I definitely empathize with you guys and hope you can keep pushing forward. I want to get your opinion on this because I know you've seen it a lot at all levels. I won't get into anything specific, right, because we're going to respect everybody's privacy, but I am interested in your thoughts because for me, I feel like we agree on this in terms of just our philosophies, but maybe don't. What do you feel about when kids transfer schools? Because to me, I personally, I look at it kind of like even with AAU, if a kid goes to a different AAU team, just like goes to a different high school, like if it works for him, just let him play. You know what I mean? But you've been in this game long enough. You've been a varsity coach long enough. You know there are definitely people who make it very difficult for the kids and take seasons away and do all this other stuff. And I get it. Part of it is the CIF rule. But you and I both know there's some flexibility to some of this, you know what I mean? Yeah. But do you just think it's an overall good thing, an overall bad thing? Or is it case by case?
It's case by case.
Right.
It has to be, only because there's kids that legitimately need to transfer because of stuff that's come up or whatever it is. And then there is schools that will take complete advantage of that. And that's where it's probably case by case.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to. There's a particular powerhouse school in our area, and I know because I coached at Yuba College. So when we're getting, you know, mailing lists together for fundraising or whatever it may be,
right?
Hey, give me your address. We're going to send you some stuff or whatever it may be. You know, the address when I Google map it, it's nowhere. I mean, nowhere near the school that they've been attending for the last 3 years. So there's particularly one school that I think is probably one of the worst in our area at doing that, and it probably puts a black eye on a lot of other schools as far as
some kids who
transferring that truly need it. Opportunity. I wish it was different, because there is times where you look at things, and kind of was talking earlier, where some coaches and players just don't mix well together. And in high school, unless you're going to move or will sit, then you're going to have to lump it, right? That's the thing. I wish it worked differently, but there is people that also take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
Where they don't work, because everything's not going to be perfect as a player. You got to learn to face some adversity to become a better player, or if you're truly a really talented player, you're going to face adversity in your life. You can't. Your first option can't be, hey, I'm going to turn in my jersey, I'm going to pack my stuff up, and I'm going to go somewhere else.
I know a kid right now, several kids that have literally transferred every year of high school.
Damn.
Every year of high school.
That's the problem.
This is they're a junior now, and this is their third high school. Yep. It's ridiculous to me. I definitely don't agree with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's that's a little too much for me. Every year you transfer, like
I feel like, of course you guys are coaches. Just for me as a player, and then something that I always tell a lot of my players is, especially from a development side, be so good that they can't ignore you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of kids, just what I've noticed, and they're transferring because they're butthurt, or the politics, the favoritism. Right. That's always good. I play professionally, and there's a lot of politics and a lot of favoritism. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you're a player that's kind of borderline, and you're still trying to figure it out, then yes, you're going to be in that politics, favoritism. But if you put in the work and you nice and you go grind, and you just stand out, I feel like the players who blend in, those are the ones who are still kind of, well, it's not working here. But like I always say, put in the work. Be so good that they can't ignore you. You don't got to transfer.
The last thing I would probably add to it, I know the good, the bad, and the ugly with AAU.
Yes.
AAU has hurt some of that because in AAU, if you don't like your team you're on, if you don't like the role you have,
you can switch in the second quarter.
They'll be like, oh, well, here, this AAU team wants me to come play, so I'll leave and go do that. And it's almost ingrained this behavior that if something doesn't work or I can't work through anything, I'm just going to go find another team. And in high school sports, it doesn't work like that. I mean, AAU it's fun, but it's essentially pay and play, or kind of thing. High school is a true privilege. I mean, call it true privilege. I mean, you get a privilege to be one of 12 or 13 guys on a team, and if it's true, you can't tuck tail and run when something doesn't go right.
All right, I agree with that. So, wanted to talk a little bit of politics, little bit of politics, but just basically, wanted to say congratulations to President-elect Biden and his Vice President Kamala Harris. Ultimately, to me, the coolest part is we have a Black woman as a vice president,
First time ever.
And that's just having a woman in that position of power is a big deal to me. Regardless of wherever people fall on politics, again, like I said, I don't even want to get into all that. That's not what this show's about. But I am just happy to get past at least this to this juncture.
You hope.
Yeah, we hope, right? Because we know there's going to be some ups and downs. But I recently made a post on my social media, and I think it just reflects some things and some values. I just said, the presidential race is close, and this whole philosophy of this election was soul of a nation, right? We're fighting for the soul of the nation, soul of the nation. Well, if the vote was close, what does that say about the soul of this nation?
Divided.
Exactly. And we gotta fix that. And that's what I kind of like about youth sports, because I really do think it does bring communities and people, even if you have opposing views together, like me and you were talking about before the show. You have some conservative views, and me, I would say I have maybe some more liberal views, but me and you are friends. You know what I mean? Like, I think of you as my friend. There's no doubt about that. And our common thread through all this is basketball. We just love the sport, and we love kids, and and so I my hope is moving forward that can start to become the theme of 2021, right? Is let's try to use love and
Come together.
Bring people together. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So just wanted to mention that real quick. So, you know, if you guys have any more thoughts, let me know, or you guys say what you want to say.
I'm just ready for 2021.
I agree.
Exactly.
I'm just ready for 2021.
I would just say it's become no matter what your political view is, it's become totally apparent that we are a nation that is divided.
Yeah.
In the way we think and everything like that. I sometimes, no matter what side you're on, I sometimes take a step back and I'm curious from if I was an outsider looking in, what other countries look at what's going on, if they do it all and think about, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with America? What the hell is going on over there?
I seen a lot of countries congratulating us and celebrating with us. After, you know what I'm saying, from what I seen, you're like, hey, good job. You guys are, you know, next 4 years.
I think that at least they think we're making the correct step to move forward, right? That's how they look at it. Like, at least they made the first step. So let's see what the rest they do. So, no, the eyes are on our country. We're just going to see what we're going to do with it. Going to respectfully disrespectful, I wanted to talk about, you know, at least one or two things that I find pretty funny. I know you've been dealing with this as a coach. We talked about this earlier. Parents telling kids and then telling us, even maybe you dealing with as a trainer, how to train their kids and what position they should be. I don't like that shit. So I'm just wondering, what do y'all think about this?
I don't care what the parent thinks.
There we go.
I mean, honestly, one of the first things that, if I was to speak candidly to them, I would say, how many guys have you moved on to college? if that's what we're talking about,
right.
You know, like a player saying, "Hey, will play X position in college," or a parent, and then I would say, "And how many games have you coached and won in your coaching career?" Because it's not a perfection. I mean, I'm working every day to try and get better at it and learn things, and I've seen things over the years. And like I was telling you, with my own kid, I wouldn't be worried about what position he played. I really wouldn't. I'd be more worried about what is he going to provide to a team. And hell, if he could play all 5 positions, that gives him
more time on the court,
5 times more minutes. If something happens, stop worrying about that. I mean, just worry about is your kid developing and getting better. I mean, what we were talking about is kids that are in middle school or elementary where parents are saying he's going to play this position. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a kid either be a really great shooter in middle school, and by the time they hit high school, you know, their arms have gotten bigger, they've lifted weights, all of a sudden they can't shoot.
Isn't that what happened to Dwight Howard?
Yeah, they couldn't.
And then they say he was actually
Anthony
pretty good
Davis. Remember, Anthony Davis was a point guard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things change with the younger kids. In a high school kid, man, you can't fool college coaches. Let them decide where you're going to play. They'll figure it out. I mean, every college is different. Some run a 4-out 1-in, some run an early offense. Some still run post stuff. If you're talking about Kansas, it's high-low.
Exactly.
You need post guys. So, let them figure that out.
Yeah.
Just be a basketball player. Absolutely. Take your weaknesses, develop them into strengths, continue to guide your strengths and build those up. I mean, just gotta be a basketball
I feel
player.
like for me, when it comes to the parents, what I like to do, of course, as a trainer, because I'm more focusing on the individual, not as the team. What I kind of like to do with the parents, because I haven't experienced that yet, what I like to do with the parents is, because at the end of the day, the parents did raise my client, is I try to ask first from a personality-wise thing, so I can, try to build that relationship is, how's your son? How's your daughter? Like, what are the things that make them click? So I know, that I can use that when it comes to the training and everything. But when it comes to the skill development and, the experience, like of course, unless the parent does have some background, maybe played or whatnot, that's really the only thing I actually want from the parent is, as a kid, how is he? What's going to make him mad? What's going to, how do I reach him? So I can build a relationship to where they trust me. So to me, that's really the only thing I would like from the parent. When it comes to a basketball standpoint, from developing and everything like that, I feel like I'm good. I already know all that. You know what I'm saying?
is that take that? I mean, obviously, that take is being a trainer, and you probably would need to do that as a trainer because they're paying you to train them. And you, I'm not saying I don't know how often you train a kid, but I'm assuming as a coach, you're spending more time than as a trainer.
Yeah.
The one thing I've had parents that have played at high levels and stuff like that. I always tell them the second we start talking anything basketball, it's off limits. If you want to talk about the mental health of your child or grades or whatever, the second we start talking basketball, it's over. The conversation over. And the reason why is this is not because they don't know basketball. It's twofold. One, no matter what their take is, it's always going to be blinded by their child. That's
true.
Number one. Yeah. And two, their idea of what needs to occur may not be my plan at all.
True.
They're not at practice. They don't see the other guys. They don't see any of that stuff. The basketball court's my laboratory. It's off limits to parents.
Right. No, sounds good.
You don't get to follow your kid into the classroom and then tell them, well, I want my kid to be able to take the, you just don't get to do that.
You're right. Absolutely right. No, this is all good stuff that I think parents need to hopefully listen and hear. Because again, on this show we try to keep shit real as possible. So I want them to hear this stuff because I think sometimes parents can be blinded by what they think is correct and what actually is correct. So no, that's good. I want to do
or just be like LeVar Ball, you know what I'm saying? Get your own squad and coach your sons. And
there you go. You're right. You're absolutely right.
The greatest equalizer in all this is winning.
Yes.
When you win, you don't have as many of these problems. They kind of goes away.
Absolutely.
If you don't win or you fall short, then that'll open up the Pandora's box that you don't know what you're doing or you don't know where my son should play or whatever.
Well, I experienced that at Whitney, and we were winning. Their JV, what I did with that JV team, the record and the way I was winning last year, they hadn't won like that in, I want to say 2 or 3 years because we got 20-plus wins. I think we had like 21, 22 wins, and I still got shit. Like, even winning. Wow. We were like 22-4. And they were still like, but to be fair, I had 19 players, so that makes things difficult.
That's an impossible situation that you were handed. And we never, just to kind of mention, I know it's a little off topic, but any coach, including myself, you wouldn't be anywhere if you didn't have assistant coaches. So, and I'm not trying to. I have a great deal of respect for French, but that's where French has stepped up and had your back.
Yes, he did. Absolutely.
Oh, he did. Okay. Yeah. So that's from the top to the bottom. You're all working together.
Exactly. And that's where I spoke about that. But yeah, Nick did have my back, which made me appreciate him a lot more. He didn't leave me. He didn't throw me under the bus, which is great. But it's just funny seeing that, having parents email you after you just win a tournament because their kid.
Because they got the stopwatch out?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, whatever you say. So I want to go to our shout-outs real quick, right? Because we're getting towards that end. I want to go to our shout-outs. First one I want to shout out is Coach Robinson, your JV coach, Coach Marcus Robinson, who's also a YBA coach. There's a couple of things I got to correct. He keeps giving me shit because I mentioned this on the show. So just for people who are listening or watching, Coach Robinson has been with YBA for 9 years. I think I said 5 or 6. So he wanted me to correct that. He's been with YBA 9 years, and he's in the Coaches Hall of Fame. So he wanted me to put that there too. So he's giving me shit if I don't correct it, and he actually listens to the show. So I was like, all right, Marcus, I got you, bro. So let me correct that. He's been with the club for about 8 to 9 years, and he's in the Coaches Hall of Fame. And he's been taking L's to my team, so I know that pisses him off. But that's still my guy, and I love him to death, man.
Freaking great.
Dude. Yeah, great. Coach Robinson,
Heart of gold.
Exactly. And his players are vouch for that. Want to mention Coach Holloway at Vanden. We were just talking about him earlier. Good dude. He's been sending me a lot of his Vanden kids. I appreciate that. They've been working hard for me. Also want to mention, even though he's sitting right next to me, I want to mention Mark because he's been sending me some of his kids too.
Team GGT.
Yeah, and they've been working hard for me. So, I appreciate that and supporting, YBA and hopefully we're doing right by your kids because I'm sure they would tell you if we weren't. Also want to give a shout out to Coach Fred at Endercom. Me and him had some good conversations the past couple of weeks, and Endercom chess got started last week. Like literally last week was their first time getting back to it. So I was like, for him and all he's dealing with, and like I said, just sitting having some good conversations with him, man. Coach Fred is a good dude at Intercom. So
he's actually a great dude. I coached against him when I was at Kennedy.
Yeah.
We weren't in the same league, but we played against each other last year. But when I coached at Lyndhurst, we were in the same league.
Oh, okay.
And so he knows basketball.
He does.
He's a great dude.
He is.
He's one of the guys. What you see is what you get. I mean, you're not going to get a fake dude. I mean, he's just straight up going to tell you
exactly
how it is, and he's a good dude.
Yeah,
good coach.
So just want to mention some of the good coaches out there, right? Also, want to mention these three. I want to say people, but really they're like their brands and companies too. Just because I've actually been appreciating, especially because the AAU season's been a lot longer, and they've been working with me and a lot of my guys, and I appreciate what they've been doing. But that's Simply Basketball. Terrence is the guy that runs that. He's super modest and never wants people to know who he is. But Terrence, he's really been advocating for NorCal basketball players a lot. If you look at Simply, he's mentioning them all the time, which, you got to appreciate. You know what I mean? Whether he's got videos of my kids getting dunked on. It's just like this man got videos of my kids getting dunked on. But at the end of the day, they are advocating for our kids. So I really do appreciate what you're doing out there, Terrence. Ballers Bridge is another guy. He's been working hard, advocating for NorCal kids. So that's another media site, Ballers Bridge. And Insane Media. Insane Media, he does a lot for I want to say like Vacaville, Fairfield area, right? He does. And I met him. Really good dude. We've had some good conversations. So just those three media guys have really been putting NorCal guys on. So, you got to appreciate that, because this AAU season shouldn't even be existing right now, technically.
It's true.
And he's they're to me, they're doing the best they can to try to help these kids get noticed, because the reality of it is this season isn't going to be traditional. There's going to be things that overlap. We're still just now kind of picking things up a little back to normal, but it still won't be normal, like you said.
Multi-sport athletes in the same season can't happen.
Yeah. It's
so
tough.
If you're a baseball guy and you're a basketball guy, you got to choose.
Exactly. So, for at least these three media people that I mentioned, I appreciate what you guys have been doing. And Mark, he well, to be fair, you do the same damn thing personally.
Yeah. Ty too. Shout out to Ty. You know what I'm saying?
Ty,
he be helping me out.
Yeah,
social
real.
Media side of it.
Yeah, no, there's that's another thing too. I want to say I've been seeing too a lot more videographers are coming out there doing their thing.
A lot.
Yeah, right. It's been a lot.
I don't know if you guys saw. I saw a ref had a highlight video.
Yeah, did you guys see that? I saw a couple of refs. That shit was hella funny. Did you see that? I know y'all did. Bro, you didn't see that? Oh, bro.
It was the silliest, stupid shit I've ever seen.
They were showing him making calls and stuff. Real talk. Refs are getting highlights.
Wow.
Bro, I don't know who started this phase. I don't know, bro. I saw that. I said,
the best is after he makes a call, the trot back to the other end, knowing he's being filmed. I was like,
hilarious.
Bro, they are really, refs are doing highlight tapes now. It's insane.
You know how when you guys go to film a kid, they know you're filming them, so they may do a little bit extra or whatever, or hold that for him a little bit. This ref man doing it was like, at first I watched it, I said, this can't be real.
Right.
I noticed it was real.
It's
he had
real.
it on his stuff. It was real.
Damn.
He was making dramatic calls in the way
they were talking about it on Twitter and everything. They say, when did refs get highlight tapes, bro? That's how you know this basketball shit.
We're desperate. Lockdown desperate.
I'm like, oh man, I appreciate it. So, with all that being said, we're coming to a close. This was a good episode. Nate, I'm glad you made it, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, because it's funny. Me and Nate kind of came in last second. It was like, hey, man, you want to do the show? I was like, let's do the show. Let's do it. Let's get it done. And he came right after he coached it. I know. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to have Mark back.
Yes,
I'm glad to have Ty back. We're hoping to give you guys some good episodes. We got Marcus Kirkland next weekend, which is going to be, oh my gosh, strive above others. This is going to be.
I was going to just tell you how professional your show was and how professional you guys are, but then you said Marcus.
Now I said Marcus.
now it's all become skeptical.
Right? No, that's little bro, man. Marcus is great. That's little bro, but you notice that episode is going to be hilarious. Oh my goodness. He's going to talk all about himself. So no, that's my guy, man. No, what he's doing is really great for the
he
basketball
is.
community
Yes,
too.
he is. Yes,
He's
he is.
he's doing like his shirt. Saw yesterday doing his T-shirt giveaway. I took a photo and got a shirt myself, so I appreciate it. But no, Nate, man, it's been great having you on the show, man. You know, I appreciate having your perspective, and again, for anybody listening, people watching. Go ahead, hit that follow button, hit that like button, subscribe. We're gonna have links to our social medias. I'll probably have links to your social medias as well. So if you guys want to follow Nate and see, you know, a coach that knows his shit, like, you know, go ahead and take a look. Have a great season. I know that's, you know, gonna be. I want to wish you a great season.
We'll take anything.
Well, you know, I know a lot of your boys, so you know, and those Oakmont kids, there's some good kids, man. I know for you guys, and this is me speaking to you, Oakmont guys. You know, listen to Coach Nate. Yeah, there might be times you don't understand some, or you think like, man, I don't like what he's doing. Trust me, the man knows what he's talking about. I've seen it myself. I learned a lot from you the first year I was at YBA when I was watching your top 17U team and watched you kick ass in Reno when Reno was still pretty legit at that time.
Used to be.
Yeah, it used to be, right? So, no, definitely want to tell the guys, listen to him. He knows basketball, man, and he knows what he's doing. Mark, you got anything to add, or you out, bro?
No, like I said, good luck.
Thanks, buddy.
It was great having you on the show. I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you.
All right, man, and we are out.